Hello, and thank you for downloading this very special episode of Monday Night Fitba. Merry Christmas to all our listeners. We wanted to give you a special Christmas present and to commemorate the first Christmas of the show's existence. With that in mind, we managed to secure a very exciting interview for all of us that you are about to hear with former Hearts and Hibs player Michael Stewart. We met up with him in a hotel in Edinburgh, which you will hear from the atmosphere in the background. So it's got a little bit of a different feel than most of our interviews do. It's also a slightly different type of interview. As I say, we wanted to do something special for Christmas. So this is not an interview that you will ever hear on radio. This is completely a standalone episode of the show, and it's uncensored. So if you are offended by bad language, now is the time to turn off. Michael gave us the benefit of being completely honest and forthright with the stories from his career, and some of the time that includes some profanities. So as I say, if you are offended by that, turn off now. If not, stay tuned for what we think is a very interesting insight into the career of someone with a lot of stories to tell about both Edinburgh clubs. We also have a second Christmas present for you good listeners, which is the opportunity to win a Shandong shirt signed by current Shandong player and Hearts Cup winning legend Ryan McGowan. Get onto our Facebook or our Twitter just now. You'll see the details on how to enter that competition, and you'll see a photo of Gowser himself holding the signed shirt that could be yours by following the very simple instructions to enter. For now, thank you as always for listening to Monday Night Fitba. Have a very good Christmas. We'll be back on Monday the 29th of December to talk about Hibs' game against Rangers and to build up to the massive derby on the 3rd of January. We hope you join us then, and we hope you enjoy this special episode with Michael Stewart. Michael, thank you for joining us first and foremost.
Not a problem, guys.
Right, your career includes a pretty unique journey between the Edinburgh clubs. Just to start off with, do you look upon it as an achievement that you played for both clubs?
An achievement? Probably, I think so. Yeah, it's. I know that there's a lot of Hibs fans that sort of look upon it and think that I don't like to talk about the Hibs chapter as much as the Hearts side of things or whatever. And I wouldn't think that's right, but I think that invariably what most folk associate me with is Hearts. So because of that, it ends up being what I'm talking about, or what folk ask me about the most. But the time that I spent at Hibs was an enjoyable one because it was a good manager, it was a good set of players, and ultimately that's what makes anywhere a success, is the people. And at that time there was a lot of good people at Hibs, and it was an enjoyable time. It was a lot of good football that was played, and the main reason why I went was because I'd obviously just moved back to Edinburgh. I wasn't ready, and I didn't want to just move away again after only being home for like a year. And Tony Mowbray, who had known me from when he was down south and when I was down south, had been trying to get in touch with me for a long time, and I was just at the stage where I thought, well, I'll go and speak to him. There's no harm in talking to him, and I went along to speak to Tony and to Mark Venus, and I think there was a certain amount of sort of trepidation in terms of thinking like it's a Hibs manager and assistant manager, but as soon as I started talking to them, I think anybody can sort of relate to whatever their field of expertise or whatever they work in. When you start speaking to somebody on a level like that, everything else goes out the window, and they were just like on note with exactly how I felt about football, and it was a really enjoyable sort of chat, and it was just at the end of the season, so there was just the start of the close season, And I went away and on holiday, and I didn't really think about it too much, whatever. And then obviously Morgan and Vino were keen to sort of talk to me again, and I was quite sort of relaxed about it. Went back and chatted to them a bit more, and they'd obviously had a very good season as well, and I could tell that there was a good team there. And as well, I was really quite unsure what was going to be happening at Hearts. They'd offered me a deal, but I mean it wasn't anything great, but it was just as Vladimir had come in. The team was basically, I mean, if you remember back to that point, they started pre-season with like about 4 players or something.
They went over to Ireland, and I don't even think they had a full squad.
So I didn't really know what was going to be going on, and to be honest, I hadn't really enjoyed my year there. I'd worked under Craig Levine, which was just was not enjoyable whatsoever. And then when Robbo came in, it was better, but then I ruptured my groin on Boxing Day, which was, funnily enough, it was a decade ago, because it was the day that the tsunami had hit. I always remember it was Celtic at home on Boxing Day, and I remember lying in the physio room in Tynecastle, and it was the first couple of minutes I just went to play a bod in the line, and even now I can remember feeling like, it just literally felt like tear, and I was like, oh, what was that? And then it was one of those where you start sort of like running, and you're pulling it a bit, in a straight line, thinking, it's okay, I'm alright. As soon as I tried to like turn, I was like, fucking hell. I was like, oh, and then I thought, oh, no, it's alright, and then running a straight line again, oh no, I'm okay, turn, oh my god, no. So I remember lying in the treatment table in Tynecastle, and the doc had come in, old Doc Melvin, who's passed away now, and he was, what a character he was like a space cadet at times, and I'm like, Doc, my groin's fucked and that, and he's going, oh yeah, he's like fucking pointing at the telly, like, what's big story here, and I'm like, Doc, my fucking groin, aye, look at this, and so then I'd missed about 3 months of that, so I mean it was practically the season was finished, and I hadn't really enjoyed it, and then there was this whole sort of upheaval, didn't know what was going to happen, and I was at that stage where I thought to myself, I just wanted to go and enjoy football, and that was what led to going there, and it was an enjoyable time until obviously Mogga left, and then John Collins came in, and that was just, well, to be fair, to begin with it was fine, and then there was the whole sort of issues after that just wasn't it wasn't fine whatsoever, and I'd already got to that stage where that was the second season I was at Hibs, and I was at that stage where I was looking to move on, although I was still happy, again I was in no rush to move from Edinburgh, but I was looking about, and there was an opportunity possibly to go to Celtic, but they had to move on Jarosik and Gravison, and if they'd moved them on, they were going to come in for me. So it was one of those where I was sort of in limbo a bit, waiting. That was later on towards the end of the season, and then I'm just trying to get this right. Yeah, that was that time, and then there was in the January I went down to speak to Stoke. I went down to speak to Tony Pulis, and I didn't get a great feeling. They were. I think they got promoted that year. They were just at the top end of the championship. They offered, they were talking about, like it was a good deal.
Was that the footballing side that you weren't getting the right feeling about just the style of play?
To be honest, I didn't really know a great deal. Yeah. At that time I hadn't really paid much attention to Stoke, but you're right. Once it sort of started to come round, you do a little bit of looking into it, and I'd spoke to a few folk that I know, and it was like, I knew that in terms of, a big thing for me as well was like off the field. That's why I've never left Edinburgh, because I'm happy here. So it's like when Stoke came up, it was like, well, I know I can live in and around Manchester where I've got connections. So that's one of the main things for me, first and foremost. How's my life going to be off the pitch? So I was like, yeah, that's alright, that's fine, it's not a problem. It wasn't far from Nottingham either, where I had a lot of contacts as well. So I was like, if I want, I can stay in Nottingham, I can stay in Manchester, I'm fine with that. right, went to speak to him, knew about the football a bit, but obviously, they're at the top end, so they're winning a lot of games, and I thought, if they stay in the Championship, it's fine, because it's better and easier to play in a winning team. But if they get promoted to the Premier League, then great, it's the Premier League. So I went to speak to him, and I just didn't get. There was a bit of a combination of. He was a very nice guy, but just something. I wasn't sure. And at that point, obviously, Hibs were they were still sort of high up in the league, and they were still in the League Cup. And I was fine with John Collins at that point. And he came to me just towards the middle of January, whatever, and he'd said, like, look, he'd offered me a new 2 or 3 year deal or whatever, and he says, I want to build the team around you, I think I can get you back into the Scotland squad, all this sort of usual chat. And I was like, oh, fine, and I had my relationship was okay at the time. Bruni and Tom were already saying he's a cunt, and I was like, well, he's I can see where you're coming from, but I said, I've not got any real problem with that. And so I was fine. I just said, listen, I'm happy in Edinburgh. I'm not in any rush to leave. But at the same time, I want to explore all the options and avenues that I've got before deciding or signing something. Because you're talking about it's not at that time, it didn't really bother me either. You were only talking about huge money at Hibs. It was alright, it wasn't huge. So I was like, I'd been there for just a couple of years just to start playing again and get back into it. And then obviously there was a few other options coming in, and I thought, right, I'm not going to commit to something like that now unless I'm just happy with it. So there was other things to sort of think about. And he said, Michael, I totally get that. He says, obviously I did it myself when I was at Celtic, and I went to sign for Monaco. You've got to look out for yourself. So I thought, if you understand, he says, but you've got to realise from my perspective that I'm looking to build a team around you, and I need to try and get a bit of an idea about whether you're going to stay or no, so that I can move on to other things. And I says, listen, I totally respect that. My problem in football is the fact that I'm too upfront, too honest. I think people can now realise that, now that I've stopped playing football, that rather than me being labelled as a troublemaker or an arrogant prick or whatever, I think if you speak to anybody that's played with me that is of any substance, I've got a fine working relationship with them. It's the folk that, in my opinion, are weak or no very good that find my style too, confrontational or whatever. It's not. It's basically, I want to win. I want things to be done properly. And some folk like to, pick up money and hide in the shadows. I'm not like that. So, with John, it was. I was just up front. I said, listen, I totally respect that. I says, what I'll do for you is that, as and when anything comes up, if I'm speaking to any other sort of clubs or whatever, I'll let you know. I says, it's the best I can do. I'm looking out for myself, but to try and help you out, I'll tell you what's going on. If I'm going to speak to so and so, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do that. Right, okay. From that moment on, his attitude to me changed. I'm now convinced that he thought that I had already signed somewhere else and that I was bullshitting him. Which I wasn't, And literally from then on, his demeanour towards me was just sort of very like this. And he tried to sort of just ostracise me and push me out a little bit. And then within a couple of weeks, I was on the bench or whatever. And for me, again, I'm somebody that my body language will tell you exactly what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. And then it just, gradually started to just go downhill where he was trying to, act like the fucking, oh no, everything's fine. And I'd be like, listen, you're fucking, I've told you what's the script, and you're now doing, oh, no. And he hated like any sort of, it's not confrontation, but anybody that of any substance. That was why he got on so well with the kids, the youngsters, because they're impressionable. But if you're going to be a successful manager, you need to get your experienced players, the ones that are running the changing room, on your side. Mm-hmm. Otherwise you lose the changing room. And that's exactly what happened with John Collins, where his narcissistic mentality of all about him is alright with kids who are like, you know, still look up to you. I mean, John Collins walks into the Hibs changing room, he's got instant respect as what he's done as a footballer, you know, because he's had a great career, he's a great player.
Yeah.
Within about 5 minutes, he's lost it because of his actual demeanour and stature. You know, you're just like, fucking hell, that was a bit underwhelming. You know, and it's like, listen, when he talks about the game, when he was, you know, whenever he used to do stuff on the telly, I used to think, talks about the game well, you know, I don't disagree with it, comes across fine. But see, when it actually comes to human interaction, he just, for me, he just didn't have it. And for clearly for, you know, the vast majority minus 2 other, you know, players that
speaks for itself as a manager.
That it just didn't happen.
Do you feel like it was because your character and the way that, like you say, you're really upfront, that do you feel that it was that led to you being painted as the leader of that pack in the dressing room, or that faction, as the papers like to say?
Yes, on 2 fronts. I would agree with that to a certain extent, but also what I was just explaining to you, I was an easy scapegoat because he already thought that I was going, I was leaving, whereas other boys, you know, they had like pound signs above their head, so it was like it would be like the club would be like self-inflicting damage on themselves to, like, you know, it was easy, you know, I was running out of contract, they thought I'd signed somewhere else, so it was like, fucking hang him out to dry. And I remember, like, when it was all sort of kicking off and they were, you know, when it was really getting bad and they were trying to get me to go and train with sort of the youths and everything like that, and I was just kicking up a stoosh, I was like, you can't do that, because, you know, it's, as a contract, as a player, they have to provide you training facilities and training programmes that are the same as any normal other period.
Yeah.
So sending you away to training with the youths and stuff like that, they think they're being cute and they can get around it. Technically, I mean, if you wanted to get really arsey about it and you fucking went to like appeal it and stuff like that, but it didn't really matter. But I was just saying, you can't do that. You know, I need to be training as normal. And I remember phoning up Roy Keane. I phoned up Roy and I was like, Roy, listen, I'm getting fucking shafted here. And you know, we're in a bit of a position as well, because at that stage, you know, like, I was thinking to myself, there is this narrative. I didn't play the media game when I was playing. I couldn't be arsed with it. And again, it was probably the way I was brought up at United, where, you know, boys like Keane and that, they used to be sort of quite demeaning of folk that used to play the media. They'd be like, fucking prick, but you fucking, you know. And so I had that natural sort of reservation about it, that I just wanted to play football, and I couldn't do it because I could see it was very sort of like superficial as well. When I know, like, looking at boys, what they're like, and then they portray themselves as something else in the media, I used to like, fuck off, you know. So I just didn't play that game. And I think that's also, but there's a balance to be had, because, you know, fans want to know the person, they want to know more about you and stuff like that, whereas for me, although I'm very open and honest, I'm still very private as well. And I think that's where this, you know, that vacuum of like this to a certain extent unknown me got filled with what everybody else wanted to fill it with.
It just gets filled with speculation when you leave the vacuum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people then thought, oh, there's fucking Michael Stewart, Jimmy fucking so-and-so says he's an arrogant prick, and fucking, look, fucking every club he's been at, there's been this or there's been that. But if you look at all the sort of managers that are, in my opinion, that of any real substance, Sir Alex Ferguson, Tony Mowbray, who obviously has had hard times recently, Csaba Laszlo, Rainer Bonhoff, you know, all these people, I got on fucking great with them. You know, people that I thought that, for me, know about the game, but know how to manage folk, know how to handle, you know, characters. I'm not going to say I'm an easy person I know I'm not, but the thing is, I'm not a fucking, like, you know, troublemaker. I'm not in there fucking saying, this is shite, he's a cunt, this is a fucking prick. I'm there saying, right, this is shite, this is what we should be doing, or whatever. I want things to be done properly. It's not just fucking some bad apple that's in there getting fucking buried, fucking snorting cocaine and fucking shit like that. I hardly drink. Fucking never touched a drug in my fucking life. I know plenty of boys that take the clean fucking piss, but then they've got this public perception of, oh, he's a good cunt, he's a good guy. And you're just like, fuck. So, it came towards that end at Hibs, and I'd spoken to Roy, and Roy was like, listen, Michael, he said, I told him everything that happened. He said, forget it. And I was like, well, Roy, it's nice and easy for you to say fucking forget it. I says, you know, you've just got the Sunderland manager, you're about to get promoted, everything's great. I says, I'm on a bit of a stoosh here, because like this narrative's now picked up. You know, I'm in fucking trouble. He went, didn't worry about it. I'm going, right, fucking, that's easy for you to say, didn't worry about it. He said, Michael, I had the exact same fucking situation when at the World Cup with Ireland. He says, every fucker behind the scenes going on about this is shite, that's fucking not good enough, blah blah this, blah blah fucking that. He says, I stick my fucking head above the parapet, and what do they all do? Fucking run for the corners. He says, but you know what? He says, I can stand up and look myself in the mirror. He says, and I know that I'm fucking honest and truthful to myself. He says, you can do that. He said, so see all these other folk that are like, now scurrying about and, covering their own tracks. He says, fuck them. So, again, it's like, it doesn't help you at that moment, but it sort of gives you a bit more. See, the older you get as well, the more comfortable you become with yourself. The more you realise that, well, you begin to understand yourself a bit better. And Roy was just saying as well, like, there's a chance that we'll bring you down here. So that sort of relaxed me a wee bit. But the problem was when I went down to Sunderland, I hadn't played for about 2 months. Mm-hmm. And it was just at the back end of the season where they'd already got promoted. So Roy was like, come down, he says, and just see what happens. So I went down. I was down for like 2 weeks, but I was nowhere near like fit enough. And I knew myself. You know yourself when something goes well or when it doesn't, and it didn't. Needless to say, I didn't sign, but that would have been ideal. And then it came in the summer, and then Vlad had basically sort of through his many tentacles had sort of got back in touch with I can't even remember, it was an agent that I knew or whatever. There was a tentative sort of contact made again, and as soon as it was made, I was like, 100%, because I wanted to go back. It was my club. Things hadn't gone the way I wanted them to go the first time round. It meant that at that time as well, I was more than happy to be staying, where I am. I didn't want to be, moving too far away. So it just everything, it was just like tick the boxes. Because again, I reiterate that point of, for me, one of the big things is just being happy away for the football, away for the pitch, because I like playing football, or work, whatever, and coming away and having like a life away from it, because I've got a lot of other sort of things that I'm interested in rather than just football. Always got on well, as I said to you, with the guys of substance at the football clubs, but the ones that are the stereotypical footballers, just like fuck off, just it didn't float my boat. Aye, great, brilliant, fucking, just no, decked out in fucking gear and flash fucks, and that just it's a shallow existence as far as I'm concerned, So that just didn't. So that was why I loved being here. So when that happened, when I had the chance to go back, it was like, drop of a hat. I was delighted.
Did you still at that stage? Obviously, you'd been at Hibs for a couple of years. Were you getting reports from maybe people that you knew from your first spell about what was happening off the park?
Of course, I still spoke to them. I still spoke to the guys, and. Yeah, I mean, they were talking about fucking some of the mental shit that was going on.
Already at that stage?
Within fucking a couple of months, obviously, of that first season. There was, but the thing was that, looking at the actual quality of the player, that was, the big thing for me is that the type of player I am as well, and where I grew up, it's like, you realise that the better players you play with, the easier it is. That, I think a lot of supporters again misconstrued what I was about, where my frustration or whatever, they think that I'm fucking having to go at folk and stuff like that. It was more frustration with the actual situation of me not playing the right pass or whatever. I'd be frustrated with myself, or a lot of times as well, it's like when you're playing with better players, you can almost play like instinctively and blind. Where players know where to be. When you're playing, and this is no disrespect to some of the guys that we played with, but when you're playing with lesser players, they didn't see the pass, they didn't know the position to be in, and when you want to play things like quickly to really catch opposition unawares, and you're playing those balls, and you're maybe playing it inside the fullback, and the guy's standing outside the field, and you're like, for fuck's sake. But 15,000-20,000 folk in the stand think that's a shit pass. But the thing is, if the guy is a top player, he'll know that pass. That's why playing with better players, they fucking know that. You play that pass, you know they're going to be on the end there. So that was where I was looking and thinking to myself, there's a lot better players there who can, really, want to go back and put a few, wrongs right. And Aye, I mean, as soon as I went back, it was just fucking night and day in terms of what sort of club it was. Everything had expanded, and I mean the one disappointment was that when I first went back, that didn't get a proper manager in place, because that first year it was, I mean the actual amount of quality in the team was beyond belief, but there was just no manager.
It was a transitional season beyond what we've ever
involved at all that season, or was it just a name?
Anatoly was basically like the director of football, who didn't want to be the manager, didn't want to put his head on the block. He was quite happy. I mean, Anatoly was a really nice guy, but like a lot of these people, he was just quite happy to take money and have a comfortable sort of existence without the responsibility to go with it. And it was just a vacuum. There was nothing. Shaggy, Stevie Frail was taking the training, which was fine day to day and everything like that, but then he felt like he didn't have the power or influence to make the decisions he wanted to make. So then it was like, well, who the fuck's doing this? And then it was like, come to the sort of weekends, and Shaggy would obviously just be reading out the team and talking about stuff that he'd just been like given to do. Yeah. And then it was just crazy. And then,
did you regret it at that stage?
No.
Coming back?
No, I didn't regret it. There was obviously there was genuine frustrations, because you could see what was actually potentially there.
And
you
just
see the
performances, it was quite erratic. There was obviously games on the Rangers, the 4-2 game, but then you knew the following week there was every chance as a fan you knew you could be seeing a totally different team for a start in terms of the selection and then the performance.
That's where, like, I think, because see at that stage, and it probably sort of feeds into what I was just telling you there about, like, better players and all that sort of stuff. I was at that stage where I thought to myself, good managers, or managers, aren't that important. It's players. I think it was probably that period where I started to think, like most things in life, it's about a balance. You need good players, but a good manager is probably the number one thing. That what happens is that, and this is one of the big things that I go on about, is that what you end up having is you've got 11 boys who are all thinking, they're not all thinking separate things. I mean, that's what I'm saying, like good players sometimes are on the same wavelength, but you've got boys who are all thinking and looking at situations from different perspectives and stuff like that. You need a manager in there to run through exactly like, what are the plan, what's the structure, what's the ideas, so that everybody is singing from the same hymn sheet. If you don't have that, it then reverts back to, I've got the ball right, I'm looking to do this. Oh well, tough, because fucking Jimmy up front is wanting to go over there, and because there was nothing there, that's why some games, boom, it would click. Boys would fall into shape and it would just like work. The next game it would just be like the opposition's maybe doing something different, and a few of the boys were obviously sort of quite mavericks as style players as well, who just, it's not happening today, so there was that sort of element of it. And so I didn't regret it, not at all, but there was frustrations because potentially it was the team was top draw, like genuine top draw.
Who were the boys at that time that kind of assumed control of the situation then? Who in the changing room, if you say like you were working without a manager, I suppose there was a responsibility on you guys to try and hold it together sometimes.
Well, there was, myself being one of them, because I think that's just the sort of character I am. Even though I wasn't long back in the door, I think that very quickly there was Robbie, obviously, who's now managing it in a quiet and efficient way, has always been somebody that was switched on. He's a very sort of centred and grounded person as well, that he never gets too high or too down, which is ideal for what he's doing now. So Robbie in that way as well. Just try to think back to who was still around. Caripides, who the next again season became more influential. Carey was naturally like that as well, but his position in the team at the time wasn't secure, so he was a wee bit sort of unsure of himself, but you could tell that he had that in him, that once he got a run in the games, and he grew in stature because he was naturally like that as well. Unfortunately Bruno was out injured all that season, but the difficulty, the problem was as well that that season, because of the lack of leadership from on high, you have guys like myself or Robbie that want things to be done properly, who I'd be more vocal about it, and this is where obviously you come to sort of come to not physical blows, but you come to blows with others, because the folk, in my opinion, who are arseholes, their mentality is, and this is a very much a sort of not something that's common in this country, but they look at it as like, you're not the coach, who the fuck are you to speak, sort of thing. And that's the difficulty when you've not got a manager or whatever behind you to say, no, do as you're fucking told, So, and it's also, some managers are like that, where they stand back and they want the players to deal with it, which is bullshit as well, because like, if you're a player and another player's turning you talking like that, how are you meant to deal with that unless you've got a manager that comes in and says, whoa, hold on a minute, no, do as you're told. So I'm very much one that thinks that balance is key to everything in life. Go and get bevied, didn't do it all the time. You eat shite food, didn't do it all the time. There's a balance, and at that point there was probably still too many arseholes in the changing room. These guys that were mercenaries, and if you've got too many of them, it's like the idiots, take over the asylum sort of thing. The next again season, once a lot of them had left, Chaba came in, who was a fucking proper manager. We still had enough quality left over from the periods where loads of boys came in, but the balance was better. We had more like good characters, good players, and the balance was corrected, where we had more good guys than arseholes, and that was why that worked that year. And you got to remember, we didn't have a fucking striker. Never had a fucking striker that year, and we still managed to finish third. So the problem the first season was that it was just the balance wasn't right. There was a lot of talented players. There was no leadership, but there was too many arseholes in the place as well.
I think what you've seen there, what you've said there, makes perfect sense, because that Chaba team actually was sometimes derided because of the style that we played, because we went to a kind of more conservative tactical approach to the game. But like you said, that in theory that could have been possible in the years before, but there was no one there, or there was too many cooks in the situation for anyone to actually employ that.
No, definitely. The thing is as well with Chaba's team is, I think that's another one of those things that the story takes on a life of itself. I mean, if you look back at that, I remember that year Hibs still had Deke had gone back to Hibs. I think they had endless number of strikers.
Fletcher would have still been there at that.
Possibly. They had endless number of strikers. We were scoring more goals than them. That team was the first team I can remember, and Chaba used to talk about it all the time, 4-2-3-1. Everybody plays it now. We were playing it first, because we only had, folk used to say, why are we not playing two strikers? See this, well, how are you going to play two strikers when you've not got one? And we had Bruno, and Bruno was perfect in that number 10 position.
He made that his own, definitely.
And we had pace in the wide areas, so we never had penetration through the middle, because we didn't have any. So we got penetration in the wide areas with Larry and Driver. That was, the team. And the thing about that as well was that 4-4-1-1, 4-2-3-1, what's the difference? A yard? You know what I mean? So folk are talking about different formations all the time. It's like, well, theoretically, what is the difference? That, they play 4-5-1. We never played 4-5-1. Never. The thing is as well, the difference between having the ball and no having the ball is massive. The game of football, nobody talks about that's the formation you play. Right, great. Well, what about when you've got the ball? What's the formation you play? When you've not got the ball, the game's so different. This is the first time that, because down at Man United, you've got the ball. Practically all the time. And when you're getting it back. Aggressively.
Yeah.
Whereas that's no normal. You know what I mean? That genuinely isn't normal. So with Chaba, it was like his knowledge of the game was unbelievable. His man management skills, unbelievable. The problem with Chaba is that he talks so much, right, that people didn't take him seriously. Out with. See, within the changing room, fucking spot on. Knowledge of the game, tactical awareness,
that seemed to help in terms of the media anyway, because of the fact that when he was having press conferences, he did seem to sometimes ramble sort of incoherently by the end of this. But people seem to like him because of that. He seemed to sort of get a bit of a name for himself. And
it also was in contrast to everything else at Hearts at the time, where you heard nothing about anything. Everything was about keeping it quiet, and Romanov, you couldn't get to him even if you wanted to get something from him, until he decided he would put a statement up on Hearts' website randomly. So in a sense, I think it maybe actually helped the club at that point, because Chaba seemed, at least on the face of it, to be so open that the media almost thought, well, he must be telling us the whole story. And in theory there was other stuff going on, as you were no doubt witnessing at the time, that maybe there was still friction behind the scenes. Why did it start to go wrong for Chaba?
Well, the problem was, and it comes back to this whole balance thing, that the next season we lost Robbie, Carey, Bruno, and Larry was now effectively like 38. You're talking about, and Christoph had left in the January of Chaba's first year. So if you ran through the team, we had Banksy who left or was sidelined, and Marion had just come in, so it was like brilliant. There was Robbie right back. There was Ibrahim Tal left as well. No, he was there the first season.
He left at the end of your first year, I think.
Did he?
When you came back, I think it was 2008 he left.
Was it? So we had big Zaliukas and Christoph, Winky, Larry, me, Christoph, Carey played in midfield a wee bit, Driver, Bruno, and then fucking anything up there. And the problem was that Robbie left right back, Christoph had left, Carey had left, Bruno had left, and Larry was a year older. So all of a sudden the main team, the main part of the team had left, and out of them as well, Christoph, a good guy, Robbie, good guy, Bruno, good guy, Carey, good guy. That's that balance of a lot of good guys but also good players had left, and what was left? Again, it was more of the arseholes, It was, they were then becoming in the ascendancy. And I remember looking around and thinking, and also at that point where, Vlad wasn't going to chuck big money about at that point. So it was like really frustrating, because in the January of Chaba's first year, Chaba had the chance to bring in Nuno Gomez. Because Bruno was known him or was mates with him or something. Had a chance to bring him in because must have been like a championships, a Euros.
There must have been the Euros, and I think he still had an outside chance of getting in there.
So there was a chance he just wanted to play.
Yeah.
And Bruno knew him, and he wasn't playing wherever he was. So he had a chance to bring him in. And we were thinking, like, fucking get him. If we were like, if we had a striker, we genuinely felt we would take on any team in the league, because honestly, Chaba was different class, and there was a good atmosphere in the changing room. From that, that sort of This is why, when I look, and I'm so critical of Ali McCoist, because he's a chancer, and I know for a fact they don't do anything. For a fact, apart from the fact I can see it with my own two eyes, I know because folk tell me, but I can see it. And yes, he's having to deal with some horrendous things off the pitch. Yes, but see, when you're out in the training pitch and stuff like that, boys aren't thinking about this nonsense. But if you're doing a lot of shite, then you're not engaging their brain. And guess what? They might start wandering off and thinking about this is shite, that shite, all these problems. Whereas with Chaba, everything was like, informative. You were learning. You were, you felt like there was a purpose and a goal. Everything he worked towards was like, get into Europe. We get into Europe, and all of a sudden it's like, boom. It's a platform. It's you can go and like do well, and then the world's your oyster sort of stuff. He made you believe and look and the problem was that the second season was that too many of the good guys had left. And I was then looking at it thinking, I was looking around and I felt like I didn't have anybody to back me up in terms of like experienced good players. Yeah. You had the good youngsters, the good lads like Winky and Driver and stuff like that, and Eggert, great guy. So Eggert played in midfield with me that first season as well. Forgot about Eggert, great guy. But they were still young boys. And then I was looking around and it was like fucking, the rest of them were like, without being too disparaging, like Big Zaliukas and that, fucking like, you know, like seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, not a bad guy, but just fucking idiot at times, you know.
Did that taint being given the captain's armband when you knew that you were going to be responsible for a dressing room of guys that you wouldn't necessarily have chosen to represent?
No, it didn't taint it. Nah, not at all. It just made it feel like it was going to be tough, you know. But it didn't taint it. No, not at all. No way. But again, it was just frustrations.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to that whole thing of like, you know, feeling responsible, the sort of character I naturally am anyway, where I would want to say things, but then feeling like, how am I fucking going to actually get anything done when there's nobody there to, like, you know, it's not as if you're going there with 3 or 4 other boys and we're actually doing it. Because one of the big things that Chaba used to do was that he would have, and it's just man management, it's clever, that he got all this, everywhere's got cliques, you know, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's natural. You know, you have your close mates, you'll sit and you'll have a coffee with them and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. When things are going well, they're no issue. But it's when things start to go bad that, you know, those cliques become, and the gaps between them become wider. But Chaba used to have, it would be like I think it was about 5 or 6 of us that he would have regular meetings with. Not every day, but a couple of times a week. You know, what's happening, how the lads, what they're thinking, how they're feeling. Oh, a wee bit tired, right, okay, we'll just tone it down a bit. Right, next week I think we're, you know, looking at doing this, what do you think? Got this game coming up, right, they're really dangerous here, what do you guys think? How are we going to stop? You know, it was engaging, it was like, you know, boys were, it was myself, Robbie, Christoph, the guys I was talking about, like Larry, used to, you know, include as well, it was Carrie, Bruno, but he used to bring in Zaliukas, and the thing was that he'd bring in Zaliukas and Larry. And again, not being too disparaging towards them, not because they were going to be offering anything great, but it was so that they felt engaged. It was mind games, so that they felt engaged, so that they would go back and buy into what he was doing. They were the leaders within their subgroups as well, so then they would feel engaged. And the amount of work Chaba went into, like, you know, keeping Christian, like, involved, and I'm, fuck you doing? Like, you know, he's a total fucking, like, because it would just be like, you know, like, chucking it back in your face all the time, but it was like, you'd rather have somebody, it's one of those where you keep your enemies close, you know, you keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. It's not to say he was an enemy and he was a really bad guy, but the point was that if you just totally regarded them, they'd cause real problems. So it was like, try and keep them engaged, try and keep them, you know, interested. And that's the sort of things that he would do, where he would get everybody, you know, to buy into what he was doing. But the real sort of core were the guys that I said, unfortunately, the vast majority had left. So the next again season, but the other thing is that was the next again season. The difficulty was that yes, we'd lost a lot of good players and good guys. So the start of the season was tough, but right, you know, in this period now, I think we went fucking 5 or 6 games, one on the trot and stuff like that. And by the turn of the year, we were like, I think we were 5th or 4th, and we were like a couple of our game in hand or whatever. And if we won it, we were like almost back up to 3rd when they eventually. But the reason that Chaba had obviously left was because the behind the scenes dynamics at the club, where Chaba was quite dismissive of a lot of shit that was going on there. And there was people plotting behind the scenes that didn't like him because he was basically shining a light on some of the crap that was going on.
I think even as supporters we could kind of see a bit of an end game playing out there at that stage as well, that there was the press conferences stopped being about Chaba talking football and more about Chaba sending messages up the line to the board or to Vladimir Romanov. So I take it didn't come as too much of a shock when Chaba was sacked then?
Yes and no. I think it was still that, because as I was saying, that previous 6-7 weeks, everything was going, you know, up. The results were coming back. Performances weren't great, but it was that whole thing of we're just starting to get results. Confidence comes with that. You can then start to build on it again. So there was, to a certain extent, a wee bit of surprise that I mean, nothing was a fucking surprise in there at times, you know, that it was almost like, well, things are going great, right? Fucking self-destruct button needs to be pressed again.
There
you
was
know?
the issue with the forwards again, because obviously that January
Still hadn't
he was
been
trying to bring
resolved.
guys in on trial,
Stephen
and there just
McLean
seemed to
and
be
Isiel McLeod, I
there seemed to
remember
be a
both
sort
coming
of,
in on trial.
from what we could see as fans, the board just weren't happy with the guys he was looking to bring in, and there was always
It was. I mean, it wasn't so much that they weren't happy with the guys he was trying to bring in. It was like, I mean, Stevie McLean was one that I was, talking to him about. I knew Stevie, and it was just like, anything's better than nothing,
Yeah.
and Stevie's a good player. I didn't mean that sounded terrible. No, anything's better than nothing. No, I mean, I like Stevie, he's a good player, and it was like, we need to get something in. Mm-hmm. And I knew that Stevie was wanting to, he was looking to come back up the road, and I said to Chaba, bring him in. But the thing was that his hands were tied behind the back, so it was like, great. Chaba was almost trying to force the hand, the board of, look, he was going down the route of like, we've got him in, and it was almost trying to whip up the media and everyone's coming on, that he would put pressure on the board to bring them in, whereas the board just
it was the same when
fucking
I
interested.
remember the cup game up at Portodry, I think was the real sort of climaxed his time at Hearts. He broke Gordon Smith in for a couple of games, and it was almost as if he was just saying, look, this is what I've got to work with. It was almost as if he was trying to make sure that the fans knew exactly just how hard it was to try and obviously get results with what he had in front of him in terms of sort of striking options.
And that was the thing with McLeod and McLean as well, is that that called their bluff to an extent where it was then put forward that like they're not of the profile that Hearts should be looking at. But then you think, well, a year earlier you had turned down the chance to sign Nuno Gomez. If he's not the profile and they're not the profile, where are we going here? What striker are we going to sign?
And you got to remember as well, they brought in David Vitav
That summer.
in the summer.
Yes.
I was over in Germany for the pre-season tour.
Nice guy.
And I saw him and I thought, it's fine, he's on trial, we'll not pick him up. And then when I got back, he'd signed maybe a 2-year deal, and I went, I honestly couldn't believe it when I realised that he'd signed it.
Just some of the bizarre things that had gone on at the club, you just can't make any sense of it.
Was it difficult for you to draw a line? You said there that he was a nice guy. Is it difficult to draw a line when you're in a situation like that and there's guys coming in and you can clearly see that they're not up to the standard ultimately that you want to be playing with? As you say, the better players you play with, the easier your job is.
Yeah, well, that just adds to the frustration, really. That I mean, the other thing is that you get angry or upset, or you have a go or whatever. But the other thing that I think, to go back to the point I'd made earlier, is that any of the lads that I've played with that are of any real substance, you fucking shout, you argue and all that, but when you're off the pitch, it's fine. It's just, that's it. The folk that have perhaps got an issue with me is that they're the ones that would still fucking harbour, like, fucking, you pretty fucking shouted at me yesterday, and you're like, fucking grow up. It's like, it's an adult
Even
sport.
at Sunday league level, you shout and scream at your mates, and you walk off the park and you go for a beer afterwards. There shouldn't be any issue.
But these guys, it's like fucking,
just mollycoddled too much.
Well, there's that to a certain extent that it's a generational thing now where there is less and less of that. But if you speak to fucking a lot of managers, they want more vocal leaders.
Yeah.
So it's all well and good. Like, again, it comes back to that balancing thing of you've got to get people that are. There's a difference between like shouting them and calling them a cunt, or shouting them and saying, for fuck's sake, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You just shout at them and say you're a cunt, then that's no fucking productive.
That's nowhere to go from there.
Aye, but I mean, again, I suppose it comes from sort of being you learn from your own experiences, and being brought up where I was, that was just it. It was like, if you can't handle it, fuck off. You know what I mean? That's it. It's cutting edge stuff. Do it, or see you later.
Do you think there were some people there that were so precious because in actual fact they knew they were completely out of their depth?
Perhaps, but it wasn't just that. I think if you speak to any footballer, they'll tell you the same thing, that right across the board you'll find there's guys that like that at every club. And similarly, you can go to any level of football and you work with players that you think to yourself, like, you go down the levels and think, how are you playing here? you should be higher up. You go right at the top and you're looking and we're going, why the fuck are you playing up there? You know, you're pish. It's mental. So there's similarly, you know, with ability, but there's similarly with you know, that mentality as well. That right through the, you know, the sort of levels of the sport, you'll get guys that are a bit sort of like, well, don't you speak to me like that? At all levels, and then you'll get other folk that will, like, you know, Sunday League, you'll get boys that will be like, fuck you, I can get it done. They're just like, you know, right, aye. And then you get boys that can take that, and there's other boys that just be like, fucking jellyfish, you know, no spine.
Do you look back, and it's going back to what you said about your own character as a player, and you know, also a human being. Do you think that the fans found it hard to understand what was going on in the park? Because obviously you were one of these guys now, looking back at your time at Hearts, you never had, whether things were going well or things were going bad, you were always trying to chase down the ball, you were always trying to get other players encouraged in the game. Do you think that made it, do you think that opened you up to more criticism from the fans at times when things weren't going well?
Perhaps because, well, yes, because it's one of those things, it's like human instinct. If you see something, it's in your mind, you know. Whereas you get folk that, you know, this is something again, you know, chatting with people of substance. It's like when things are going great, nobody scrutinises anything. Yeah. When things aren't going great, it's like everything gets questioned. And if you're, you know, one of the sort of main focal points or one of the things that people see the most of, then of course you're going to be spoken about and you'll get folk. And the type of character I am, I realise that it doesn't bother me because I know it, that you can be divisive. You know, you evoke, you know, reaction within folk.
Kind of figure to the
folk are like, nah, good cunt. Folk are like, he's a fucking prick. I get that. It doesn't, you know, that's just, you know, the way I am. But what frustrates me is that when people don't see how there is certain folk within football who just hide.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing of like, things aren't going great, they've hidden. A lot of people don't see it, so they don't react to it. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. They're fucking doing nothing. They're just fucking hiding. It's like, it's those people that are an issue rather than the folk that are actually putting it on the, you know, the line. If you've got the ball and you've got fucking no options because folk are like hiding, who's the fault? The guy that's wanting the ball or the guy that's hiding? You know? Those are the things that would frustrate me in terms of like, I've got broad shoulders that I can take, you know, the criticism. That's why I didn't play the media game, because at the end of the day I didn't really bother about it. But the thing that would frustrate me is that it's like, right, well, if that's the sort of the level of criticism that X is taking, then well, let's open up and say, well, think about it, rather than just like off the top of your head thinking like, oh, they were quite good, they went about their job just quite quietly today. Well, what did they fucking do? You know,
that comment about they've done the simple things well.
And it's like, you know, I can't stand midfielders who just didn't do anything. You know, and folk go like, oh, they were good, they were efficient, they go about it. Like, right, well, unsung hero. And it's like this unsung hero thing, it gets so repetitive. It's like, well, they're not exactly unsung if you keep going on about it.
That's the thing now in football, that the mood has actually gone the other way, where everyone's looking for the next Claude Makelele so they can single them out. But the whole point is that they're meant to do the dirty work, but it's that actually is now the glamorous job to do. Scoring none of the goals and just making all the tackles and stuff. In terms of, I'm interested to hear, in terms of, we've spoken a lot about your character, the way you hold yourself, the fact that you're completely up front. Do you think as your career progressed, the perception of yourself or the way people reacted to your manner was ever hindered by the fact that your career started where it did at Old Trafford, that it became this Michael Stewart, big time Charlie, he thinks he's still at Man United?
100%, because I remember when Scotland under 21s and my old financial advisor, who came up with a great quote, and I never understood it at the time. It was I was playing, and after the game he was sitting with my dad, and he was like, well done Michael, it was good game, can't do this, we beat him like 2-0 or whatever. And he's a really good guy, he's straight to the middle, he doesn't mince his words. That's why I always got on with him. And he goes, they think you're an arrogant bastard. And I was like, who? He went, a lot of the suits up the stair. And I was like, but no. And he went, well, I know you know. He says, but that's what they think. And I went, so this is my reaction. Well, it doesn't matter, because I'm no. He went, well, it does matter. I went, well, why? He went, because their perception is you're arrogant. And I went, John, I'm no. And he went, aye, I know. He says, but the point is, they didn't think that. And he says, perception is reality. That because, like, you could, like, you know, look at these candy sticks and you could say, oh, they're pink and white. And I'm going, no, they're red and white. The point is that your perception doesn't mean it's any less real to what my perception. I mean, it could be completely opposite. And that because of the whole Man United thing and this whole narrative of, and the Scottish mentality and the psyche that feeds into the do well but don't do too well sort of thing, that I made life choices in terms of moving home, and I was at the stage where obviously I had to move away from Man United, and it's this whole thing of you're almost starting from a negative of, like, you've been somewhere and it didn't work, so then it's like you're starting from minus whatever amount of points. Whereas if you just start at zero, you could be doing better than this person, but you're still, the perception is, it's not as good. It's like, is that real? Or is it not? So of course it was. I mean, that's just, I think that goes without saying, that because of where I'd been, it fed into the whole narrative that was made about who I was. I mean, I was a product of where I had learnt the game in terms of being, sort of up front, school of, hard knocks of, these are the people I learnt from. And for me, it was the most successful, club around. So if that's not the way to do something, then, I was like, well, what is then? But I think because of, the sort of the other different experiences I had in my career, I've got a better understanding of the wider spectrum of the game. Like I was saying to you before about, Man United, you've just got the ball the majority of the time. But that's not normal, you know what I mean? It's like you've got to learn other sides of the game as well, right? So if you're at another club and you didn't have as much of the ball, right, what are you going to do? How do you set up against it? Those sort of things. So from the same perspective, like from that to then talking about the mentality of being at different places as well, that you've got to sort of try and adapt a little bit. And I definitely think that because of the character I am, quite a sort of strong character, and because of where I'd been, and because of the story that had been built around me, that people perceived me to be maybe something that I wasn't. And I was always comfortable within myself that if people knew me or had met me and they held that opinion, then right, okay, that's an issue. But folk that didn't know me, it didn't bother me.
Do you find now that you've stopped playing and you've obviously got quite still a reasonably high profile with doing all the punditry and the media work, do you feel that there has been a change in perception?
Well, you guys are probably the best at it.
When you meet guys and stuff like that. Well, it is. I mean, looking back at it, obviously when you were playing at Hearts, it's hard as a fan not to get caught up in it. And like I say, because you were one of the guys who was seen as a focal point of that team, you were generally one of the guys that, round about me, you would be one of the first ones to get the first bit of stick because you never had. Now, looking back at that time, I'm sure a lot of those guys now in hindsight would look back and probably see it from your point of view. Well, he was actually the guy that was trying to get things moving. We just weren't really looking at that.
This feels like one of those moments where he's talking about a friend of his. It really does.
No. I could go into that, but I wouldn't do now. But,
people around me.
No, I'll be quite open. I'm always critical of any Hearts player at any point in their career. But it is like I say, in hindsight, you do look back at certain, spells in folks' career, and you do look at it and go, you know what? He was actually one of the guys that was at least tried to make things happen. And when you look at obviously what was happening off the park, and like you say about characters in the dressing room, it must have been frustrating for yourself, wanting to do your best, obviously for yourself, but also for the club. And just generally not everyone else was on the same page as you.
I think the context has changed over the last few years in terms of how you evaluate players over those periods, especially the times that you were there where the going wasn't as good as it had been early in the Romanov reign, but the expectation was still there. So every season started and we thought, well, we should be challenging the old firm. And then you realised that in actual fact, more and more came out as the season wore on that we were handicapped from the word go, and we didn't, the quality wasn't necessarily there that we expected or turmoil behind the scenes that the old firm didn't have to deal with that stuff, because
Exactly.
they've been used to that at the top end for a long time.
The one season was Chaba's first year, as I said to you, where everything just sort of like struck the right note, because there was still the quality of the team with a good manager, and it was enjoyable to play him because everything sort of came together. The first season didn't have a manager, we had all the players. The third season we did have the manager, we didn't have the players. You know, it was that sort of first season of Chaba's that worked because the balance was there. The first season expectation very, very, very high. Unfortunately, just there was no sort of captain to steer the ship. And then the third season, or Chaba's second season, it was, as I explained to you there, it was just that the problem was that the quality had dropped, and because obviously it finished third the season before as well, the expectations, and then taking another lift again, it was like, fucking hell, we're sort of still there.
In terms of the recruitment for the third season, obviously we touched briefly on David Levine, but the other guys that were signed, Kucharski and Buzek and Suso, were those guys who Shaba was looking at himself, or were they just guys that were getting sort of just thrown at him basically? Because the fans were never really told during that time whether it was somebody who he'd scouted himself, or whether the club were still just bringing guys in and just saying, look, you just make the best of the situation.
Right, basically there was a combination of like, whenever a guy came in, it would be like, they would get a couple of boys that they were bringing in, and then there was others that were just like random.
Was there any method to it? Because I think to a certain extent we understand that when it's characters like Kingston and Pania and guys that you can see how Vlad would look at their CV and go, great, let's bring him in. When you bring in David Kucharski, there's no glamour attached to that one. He's a workman-like player, he's had a workman-like career. Like, why is he being forced upon a manager?
I've got what you need to do is you need to look at, behind the scenes in terms of who are the agents that are doing deals, and even with Larry and Pania and things like that, and Bruno, it's all the same sort of folk. It's all the same sort of agents that were in with Vlad, but they were like high-end agents, proper agents. And then it's just basically working your way down the ladder of the agents that are actually doing deals, and they're just throwing players. This was the thing. The problem was that in all of Vlad's time was that there was just too many people with their snouts in the trough, and Vlad not knowing who to trust. People close to him just telling him what he wanted to hear. In the meantime, they're just like, fucking, nail all that, just stockpiling their own little sort of money and cash. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, when so it got to the stage of like, when Chaba had left, and it was so that January, I was talking to Sergey, was talking to me about signing a new deal, and it's just honestly, it was fucking so embarrassing, it was beyond belief. So he started chatting to me about signing a new deal, and it was like, want you to sign a new contract, Michael? I was like, right, okay, no problem. And I was at the stage where I was thinking, right, even if I'm thinking about going, I've just got to completely string this out as long as possible, because if they think I'm off, then Vlad could quite easily turn me and playing sort of thing. So I was 50-50 whether I was actually going to, because I was getting frustrated again with what was going on, and I was at that stage now where I was genuinely thinking about, I maybe want to go and try something else elsewhere, and it was just crazy. It was like, right, obviously a lot of the big earners are going to be leaving, and I was going, yeah, fine, no problem. I says, but we need to be realistic about what we're talking about here. Right. So he threw a figure out there to begin with, and I was like, nah, because I'd been speaking to other sort of clubs and a lot more, and I'd said, well, to be honest, I'm looking for this amount, and this is what I'm potentially talking about elsewhere. Right, obviously it's a wee bit too high for us now, but I can see what we can do. So the next day he comes back to me and he talks about this figure, and I was just like, there's no fucking way that Hearts are going to be able to pay this. This is what I'm thinking. And he says, right, yeah, this amount. And I was like, okay. He says, and obviously that's like includes everything, like accommodation, a car, agent fee, and I'm thinking to myself, I've got a house, I've got my own car, and I'm not using an agent. So I'm thinking, this guy's thinking about, like, you know, the deals that he would be doing with other folk. You know, this is the thing that they would all, you know, you've got to remember, he's using that as a bargaining chip for himself, and that includes all those other things. So this is how you understand that the club before were just spending so much money. They're giving out big contracts, then they've got all these extras where they were giving boys cars, houses, agents' fees and everything like that. And I'm saying, Sergei, right, okay, obviously I did the same to him, And I'm thinking to myself, they can't afford. So I was like, right, Sergei, listen, next time you're over in Edinburgh, let me just, you know, put it down on paper, let's get it official and everything like that. Right, okay. So, it was about a month later, he phoned me up, he goes, I'm over at Tynecastle, Michael. He says, if you come over, I've got that offer on paper for you. Right, okay. So I went over, I went into his office and he was just sitting there and he was like, right, just give me a couple of minutes, and he's on his laptop and then he fucks off and comes back. Just a random sheet of A4 paper. Michael Stewart, 2+1 contract, basic salary, appearance money, bonus, and then like sell on, just a random bit of paper. I was like, right, okay, so yeah. Because I'm thinking, you know, a proper contract offer, headed paper, the whole lot, as it would normally be, and I would be like, right, I'll go away and I'll have a wee read through this, Sergei, and I'm like, how can I fucking say that? He's just like typed out like 4 lines on a bit of paper here.
With loads of space to add in other stuff underneath.
I was like, right, okay, Sergei, I'll get back to you on this one. I was just wanting to get out of the room pronto, but that was it. They just didn't have it was just so, you look back and you think to yourself, like, and even at the time you're thinking, like, how are these folk in the positions they're in?
So by that stage, Pedro Lopez must have been out of the picture.
Pedro was gone a long time before.
Yeah, because I remember he was involved with bringing in guys like Palazuelos and that, and there was always rumours about, you know, the way the contract handling went, and Hearts just had no idea what Ruben was wanting and what they could offer him, and it just, Ruben ended up walking out with a contract that was, you know, far superior to anything we could have imagined.
Aye.
Were you unique in not using an agent and conducting the negotiations yourself?
With Hearts?
Aye.
It was just fair. I mean, again, just because of, you know, the position I was in terms of, probably with Hearts it would have been, but I never really had a single agent that I had a working relationship with, and just talking to the club, it was just very sort of relaxed anyway, you know. Yeah, so it probably was quite unique, but I just saw it as like, I didn't need it, you know. I didn't need one. You know, I mean, what do you need a fucking agent for? Like, that's typed to the fucking, you know, right, what we're going to negotiate here. So, it probably was unique, aye.
Okay, looking back at that final spell then, you said you were potentially looking at moving in. I think there's we've spoken a lot about perception. I think there's a perception that the relationship between yourself and Jim Jeffries maybe wasn't all that. How was that period of your career, the last few months at Hearts?
Well, it was fine. I mean, when Jeffries first came in as well, it was no problem. It was I became a little bit sort of like, you know, obviously I knew everybody knows Jim's, you know, history, so it was like, fine, you know, Chaba's left, but we've still got a manager in that knows what he's doing. But the training just basic, you know, and I'm the sort of person who, you know, as you'll understand, not to say that training shite, it just wasn't the stuff that was going to be engaging my brain and like, oh, I'm learning the game. It was just basic, you know, work hard, do a bit of possession, do some shooting, and I'm like, I'm not fucking learning in here. And I'd got injured not long after Jim had come in, and he'd come in, and I remember after the first couple of weeks, you know, I got on honestly fine. I mean, Jim's obviously the manager who completely understands as well that, you know, your big players, your experienced players, you need to sort of have them on side, and you know, I'm quite open with him as well. And I remember his first game, when he first came to speak to Chaba, literally left, he walked in at Tynecastle, and it was a cup game, I think,
Was it the cup game against St Mirren?
Was it St Mirren? Was that his first game? I'm trying to remember.
Aye, it was, yeah, at Fir Park.
Aye. So it was only a few days before that he came in. So Chubb had actually already started like preparing for it and like that. So he was chatting to me, and I just said to him, I says, listen, here's my number. I says, if there's anything you want to know, like before tomorrow or whatever, just give us a shout. I think he was a wee bit sort of taken aback, because he's like, quite old school, like I'm a manager sort of thing. Looking back on it now, that's just me, that's my character. I'm just fucking trying to help, But we got on fine, no problem at all. And there was an incident in training where I just fucking was shouting at something. It was like Janosch and goals. We're training, and it was like a game. And Janosch has got the ball, and one of my pet hates is goalkeepers that fucking get the ball and they're like, alright, I'll give you it now. And you're like, fucking hell, if you gave me it 5 minutes ago, I could have been fucking up the other end of the pitch. And so it was one of those ones, and then he threw me the ball, and I took a touch, and then I had a couple of boys round me, and it was one of those classic ones again, where there's like fucking 3 or 4 boys like just hiding there, and then I tried to play a ball in the corner. They got it. A few passes later, I think the cross came in, and then like they scored or whatever, and I was going, fuck's sake, Janosch, fucking give me the ball early, fucking go to the fuck. And then he was like, fucking, I'm going, fucking give me it. Anyway, then Jim was like that. I think the game just finished, and as we're coming off, Jim starts like fucking shouting and bawling at me, and I was like that. What the fuck are you shouting at me? And he was like, you're fucking. I says, I'm not fucking saying it's not my fucking fault. I fucking lost the ball. I know. I says, but if he'd fucking give me the ball 2 minutes fucking earlier, I says, we could have fucking scored the goal at the end. And he's like, fucking, so he's going to go at me in character. I'm fucking, I'm going to go back. So it was a bit fucking frosty like that. But it was just, these things happen all the time. Like, just imagine, it happens all the time in football. But that day I had tweaked my calf literally the last couple of minutes of the training session, and I just felt like, as a manager, right, you want to get your older players on side, all that sort of stuff. If he wasn't happy with what I was doing, he wanted to fucking old school, like, I'm the fucking manager, fucking show. And everybody's got this perception of Sir Alex Ferguson of like, rolling the roost, fucking this and that.
The hair drying.
Aye, but the thing is, he's a fucking master man management. He knows who to fucking do that with, who to fucking, who to fucking say to privately, didn't fucking do that again. If you're gonna fucking, be having a go, I'm the fucking one that'll do it. I know you're fucking right, but didn't be fucking doing it in front of folk. So then, because you've got to have that mutual respect, you've got to understand that I'm the sort of character. You're basically like, so Jeffrey's bawling and shouting at me, right? What you're doing there is, you're belittling my position within the team of saying like, all the folk that already think, he's a cunt and he fucking shouts too much, they're going to be like, great, the manager fucking thinks it. So you want me to lead the team, but you're fucking belittling my position. So Sir Alex Ferguson would never have done that. It's not to say that he wouldn't have done it to another player, but this is where, it's like one size fits all. It doesn't work.
No.
That mentality is a management.
Especially in a way you're captain, because like you say, there's got to be a hierarchy.
Yes,
there.
Of course there is. And listen, when you're a younger player, you do at times you look up and go like, fucking that cunt gets fucking away with everything. But the thing is, if you're the captain and you're putting in performances and you're you get that, through your career. So anyway, listen, it was a small issue, but I just thought to myself at the time, I know I fucking was shouting the ball. I know I fucking lost the ball. I'm not in any way, shape or form fucking trying to absolve myself of that. The point I was trying to make was this over here. And he just took it off in another where it was that old school, like, I'll fucking, I'm the manager. And that just, for me, it wasn't going to happen. Anyway, I took my calf. And it was Dundee United away, like a couple of days later. So I'd rested it for a couple of days. It felt not too bad, it felt alright. And then I did a fitness test in the morning of the game, because they were desperate. The team was decimated, there were loads of injuries.
I think they even had to bring back Goncalves at the time, and he'd been basically banished, I think, for Romanov.
Right.
And that was, and even he was playing, and you knew, well, things are obviously pretty bad if he's
I think you're right. So I did a fitness test in the morning and I felt it, but I was like, I'll play. And listen, didn't shout for the rooftops about these things, you know, and like I'm not looking for any extra fucking pats on the backs or kudos off anybody, because so what, you know what I mean? It's the character that I am, whereas other folk would just be like, right, that's sorry, no chance. But equally, I didn't then look for fucking stuff to be thrown back in my face, you know, like later on when I'm actually fucking trying to help out. So I went up and I was playing, you know, and I was warming up at Tannadice, and bang, I fucked my calf completely in the warm up, pulled it. So I'd damaged it in training, and it just about, you know, okay. If I'd left it a week, I'd have been fine. And then doing the fitness test in the morning, it just started to, like, you know, so obviously like loosen it a bit more again, and then the warm up, bang, it just went. So I was out for, like, you know, I don't know, about 5-6 weeks or whatever, in which time I was with the physios, but there was no issues with Jeffries, whatever. And I remember Jim coming up to me, and he'd quickly realised that, you know, there's too many arseholes in the place, and he would say that to me, mate, I totally know what you're talking about now, you know, I totally see this, you know. So there was an understanding there. He totally got it. And the problem was that when I came back, was it the first game? Yeah, it was. I'd been out injured, right? And this was the whole time with the contract negotiations going on as well. And I'd met Vlad. I think Vlad thought that I was like off. Yeah. He sort of sensed it. So came back, right? And it was Motherwell at home. Probably the last game I think I played. It was Motherwell at home. And we're standing in the changing room just about to go out. Gogsy, the kit man, he'd stand at the door, put the captain's armband on. So I've walked over, and Gogsy's just sort of like standing there. And just as I'm walking out, this is literally as we're about to walk out for the game, Jim goes like that in front of everybody, he goes, Michael, listen, you know, you've looked really good in training this week, and you know, you've been out for a few weeks now. Just want you to concentrate on your own game, and Mary says you're going to keep the captain's armband. I was thinking, you fucking for real? What, I'm a fucking 12-year-old, like, concentrate on my own game? Fucking idiot. Literally as we were to go out for the game. And that was at that point I was just like, you know, and that some would say unprofessional in me, you know, like fucking letting it affect me or whatever, but I just thought that is fucking pathetic. So I think he maybe brought me off at half time in that game. I think he did. And then the next week in training, I think it was a midweek game as well, and there was a bit in one of the papers about how I was, how I thought that I'd played my last game for the club and all this sort of stuff. And the squad had gone up on the board in terms of like who was training where. My name wasn't on the board, and I was like, "What the fuck's going on here?" So I just went out as normal with the lads, and Lockie was out, like, you know, with the players, and Lockie was like, "Hey, Mikey, I think you're training with the young boys," and I was like, "Oh, was that right?" So he said, "What for?" He was like, I think the gaffers just want to work with the squad for the game. Right, why am I on the squad? Like, I don't know. Alright, no bother. So I just stayed there. I was like, I'm not fucking going anywhere. So I'm not fucking walking off at Christian, and it was the same Christian was met. He was like, "Oh, Mikey, we're training over here." I went, "Well, on you go, Christian." I said, "I'm not fucking walking over there." I was like, if they want to fucking say something to me, they'll fucking say it to my face. So then Billy came out, and Billy was like, you're over there, Michael? Just try to act. And I says, "What for?" We're just working with the squad, just with the boys that were in the team. And I went, "Well, why am I not?" Like, I just want to work with the team. I says,
wasn't quite getting the question.
Billy, and why am I no? He went, "Well, you've said that you've played your last game for the club." I went, "Who's fucking said that?" Like, he went, "You've said it. Oh, in the papers this morning." I went, "What, quotes for me?" "Quotes." He went, well. I went, "So there's no quotes for me then, Billy?" He went, "Well, you fucking talking to the media." I went, "Billy, is there quotes for me saying that I played my last game for the club, or no?" And then he was like, "Listen, didn't get smart." I went, "Billy, let's just fucking have a little talk about things here then." I says, "Do you think that what's happened on Saturday, just as we're about to walk out to the game, that the manager turns around and says, oh, I'm just going to leave Marius with the captain's armband. I says, do you think that's the right thing to do? Well. I says, so you do? You think that's good management? Well. And I says, all right, okay. Well, I says, if you think that's good management, then fair enough. I says, because I didn't. I said, and I know it wasn't his decision. I said, so why did he not come to me days before, or even 2 hours before the kick-off or whatever, and privately just say to me, look, I'm in an awkward position here. Vlad thinks you're leaving. He wants Marius to keep to take the captain's armband. Now, I can't do too much at the moment. He says, but back your corner, but just this is what's happening just now. At least I know the situation. I might not agree with it, but at least I know the situation. I says, instead, 2 minutes before we fucking walk out, in front of everybody, like treating me like a fucking 2-year-old. Anyway, so Jeffries then came out at this point as well. And I can't remember what Billy had said something. And then I'd said it to Jim. And Jim totally contradicted him. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I says, because Billy just said it. And then Billy went, fucking, didn't you fucking try and cause a rift between the two? I went, Billy, are you actually for real? I says, you just said that 2 minutes ago. And Jim's now contradicted you. I says, I'm not trying to cause a fucking rift. I'm just merely pointing out, you said this, and he's saying that. Fucking this and fucking that. And I went, listen, this is beyond a joke. I says, Jim, I says, all I was trying to say is that, do you not think that this whole situation could have and should have been handled better than what's going on? You said, I says, again, is there quotes for me saying that I've played my last game for the club? Oh, this and that. I says, so there's no quotes. I says, it comes back to the whole point of, do you think this has been handled properly? I says, I know it wasn't your decision. It was my decision. I was like, Jim, are you actually for real? He went, I'll swear on my son's life. I went, Jim, I know for a fact, because Christian had already told me that on the Friday he was sitting with Marius when Vlad phoned him up and told him. Because he said, I was sitting there with Marius when Vlad phoned him up and says, well, Michael's leaving, you're the captain. And Jim standing telling me to my face that it was his decision. I'm thinking, seriously, I'm trying to fucking make it, I said, Jim, listen, I've been at this club longer than you with Vlad in charge. I understand that certain things happen that are out of your control. I get that. You've been put in an awkward position, but why did you do what you did? Like 2 minutes before walking out. Why did you not just come and speak to me? Because he wanted to portray this image of...
Do you think he had no trust in you, and he felt that if you had got wind of that you would have went to the papers and said, look, he's not making the decisions round here? Because obviously those rumours always were there when Romanov was in charge. Do you think maybe he didn't know you well enough to know that you wouldn't be, running off to the media, having that information?
I didn't play the media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it wouldn't take a fucking genius to know that I didn't really speak to the media.
Yeah.
And even if I did, he would have just come back and says, no, I made the decision. That's a media game then. But that's about managing your players. So let's think about this for a second, right? You're right though, that's exactly how he thought. He was obviously thinking, I want to be seen to be the guy that makes the decisions. But at the end of the day, right, it's irrelevant. Well, it's not irrelevant. The most important thing is your changing room. If you get your changing room right, everything else will, fall into line. Didn't worry about, and this is the whole thing about reversal, right? McCoist and all that, they worry more about the outward, perception rather than inside the changing room. And it's that balance, you've got to get that right. But for me, the first one is the changing room. So from a man management perspective, what happened there was a fucking disaster. Come and speak to me, create that, relationship, that trust. Say, listen, didn't want to get in it, obviously it's not just be honest with me. But again, that's the way I would do things. Just say, listen, awkward position, didn't want to get into it because, I want to be seen to be the manager here or whatever. I didn't even talk about that. That gives that more credence than it needed to be. But that's exactly it. He wanted to be perceived as the one that was making the decisions. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And well, clearly it's not. Yeah, you're picking the team because at that point, things had changed and the manager was more in charge of the things that were going on, but there was still a lot out of it that was out with his control. But that was it was a nonsense. So a lot of the things that people, we'll go back to this whole thing about the perception of me, and this was one of the things as well that Billy started fucking incoherently ranting about as I was walking away with, always fucking causing trouble everywhere, you fucking been John Collins, and I turned and says, Billy, were you there? He says, were you there? No, you weren't. Right. So do you know what went on? No, you didn't. So I says, just shut up. And this is the thing that it's like, that whole thing of it, stories, grow arms and legs, they take on their whole sort of own, life. And I was the one at the Hibs that was phoning up Rod Petrie and organising like meetings. It wasn't me. It wouldn't take a genius to figure out who it was. But it wasn't me, And the person that was doing it, he wasn't doing it on his own. That we were a collective unit. But if you wanted to really sort of nail your colours to the mast in terms of like, right, who was the one person that you could say, who orchestrated the most? Who was it that organised meetings and stuff like that? Well, it wasn't me. And the reason they didn't highlight who it was because there was, a value there. And then at Hearts here, so a lot of the things that where if you look throughout the sort of my career where there's folk talk about like focal points or points of like interest or intrigue or things or the perception of where I've caused trouble, it's me reacting to what I perceive to be somebody fucking being unjust to me. And I'm not the sort of person to just turn and go like, alright, no problem, yeah, I'll keep my head down, yeah, you just fucking chat on me. No, I'll fucking stand up and say that's not right. And these were, some of these incidents where at Hibs, John Collins thought I'd signed somewhere else and fucking started to, distance himself and make it life awkward for me. There was a whole team minus 2 players who weren't happy with him. If I orchestrated that, I must be the best leader in the world against their wishes, So that's nonsense. And then that thing with Jim when we're leaving, there's agreements that happen all the time between players and managers. I didn't have a problem with him at all until he did that before walking out. I'm the captain of Hearts. I'm a fucking Hearts fan. You're living at your dream, and then to be turned around and said, just before you're walking out, and done in such a patronising way, well, just concentrate on your own game. I'm not fucking two. You know what I mean? That was, and then to be lied to try and be said that, oh, it is my decision. Well, I know it's not your decision, and I was trying to make it, easy for him. So that was what, really fucked me off. And then, obviously, then the sort of stories come out, and then it's like tried to be made out to be something it wasn't. It's Michael Stewart again. Then it's easy, oh, it's him again. That's him again.
You can just cut and paste to another article.
Exactly.
And just,
Exactly. That's him again. Aye. And then everybody, you didn't need to explain anything else. Just exactly like you're saying, Scott. It's cut and paste again. Yeah.
Obviously, to try and sort of, wrap up your career in terms of what you've done at Hearts. What were your favourite memories, in terms of on the park when you felt like, you were playing your best football? You're actually top scorer in your last season there, which very few people remember. Yeah. What were your favourite memories, during that second spell?
The whole season, the whole middle Chavez first year, because it was just great. It was that whole thing of felt like you were learning about the game. It was a good team. I looked through that team. As I said to you earlier, Marion in goals, Robbie right back, Christoph and Carey at times, or Christoph and Marius, Larry, Eggert, or Carey, May, Driver, Bruno, and then one up front. That's a fucking good team. And that's again, go back to if we had a striker, you'd be looking and saying to yourself, seriously, Marion in goals, Robbie, Christoph, Carey, Winky, Larry, me, Eggert, Driver, Bruno. That front, that 10 players, and if you put like Nuno Gomez up front, seriously, So that time where that whole season, learning, feeling like you're actually learning the game, working with a proper manager, and we're obviously going for third place in the league. Disappointing thing was we didn't manage to get a cup run that year, but it felt like we were actually progressing forward, and we were hopeful that we would have kept those boys on, because those boys all would have wanted to stay, but the difference was that they weren't getting the same contracts. And that was and then I remember the final game of the season where, or not the final game, the game against Dundee United at home, we absolutely fucking demolished them. And they were obviously trying to go for third place as well, and we totally battered them. I think it was 3-0.
Aye.
And it was a great performance. And that would just sort of like highlighted that season where we secured third place, and it was it was a good performance. We absolutely demolished them. And there was quite a few games that year. I remember we battered Celtic at home as well, where Janos had chucked one in the first minute, and then Bruno scored a free kick.
Right, aye.
We were properly just took them apart, especially in the first half. And and this is the thing, you look back where folk are talking about how conservative football. No, we were difficult to break down when we didn't have the ball. When we had the ball, we broke. We attacked in numbers. But that was the whole thing of out of possession, we played a different formation. We worked on it a lot. It was like, if we lose the ball high up the pitch, it was before everybody spoke about Pep Guardiola doing it at Barcelona. Chapel was doing it with us. We used to work on it training all the time. We would lose the ball, right, boom, hunt them down, close them into corners, win the balls back, high up the pitch. If they get through you, drop back into the formation. And we played, as I said to you, in possession 4-2-3-1. Out of possession, it was like Bruno, who was like the one behind the striker, he would drop back into midfield, and then Egger or Carey, whoever was playing next to me, would drop into like a number 6 position, and it would be 4-1-4-1. Little things like that a lot of folk wouldn't see in the game, because you're not thinking about formations being different when you've got the ball and when you've not got the ball. Those things that you were learning about the game, because I hate a number 6 midfielder. The reason I hate them is because there's a clear benefit when you've not got the ball, because they're closing that gap between midfield and defence, which is important. But I hate it because the 99% of the folk that play it and teams that play it, in possession they stay there and they fuck off. So when you've got the ball, they're a man down. But the good thing about Chapel was it was like, in possession, right, get out of that position, get out, get away, move up. He slides up, and then the guy that's there goes into the number 10 position. Things like that, intelligent. I'm working on it all the time, so that not just like going, right, when this happens, you go there and you go there, and then when it comes to the game, it's like actually running through it in training.
It's interesting because you can kind of see those tactics a wee bit in the Hearts team this season, that we do play with a holding midfielder at times, either Gomez or Payardo, but they actually then become the playmaker, setting the tempo going forward, and they are creative.
And it's those things that made that an enjoyable season, because it just everything was working. There was a good atmosphere in the changing room as well, and the other seasons, as I said, there was other things that sort of played into it that made it a wee bit more disappointing, but that time was good.
You've spoken really highly, Chaba, throughout our conversation, Michael. Are you surprised that he's never got another shot at Scottish football?
No, I'm not overly surprised, because of that image that I think it was almost like a derisory figure at times, where folk thought he was comical and misunderstood him, even amongst a lot of the Hearts fans. And there was a distinct change. I think folk thought he was a madcap sort of maverick in his first year, but you've got to remember, he won Manager of the Year in his first year, and then I think when things didn't start to go great in the second year, folk almost thought thought he was a bit of a joke figure, and he's totally not. And I hope everything that I've explained there was some of the reasons behind it. And if you actually look at it a bit more in depth, we were right back up. I think we were 5th or 4th when he left, with a game in hand, and we would have been maybe only a few points behind 3rd. So we'd started to to turn the corner that season, because he had to change everything, because we lost half the team. So I'm not overly surprised because of the image that there is of him, which is unjust as far as I'm concerned. I speak to a lot of people in the game, and I would only ever have good words to say about him. And that if there was ever a position that comes up, I would wholeheartedly sort of recommend him to be given a chance. But that's the sort of mentality that we have in this country at times, where we've got a lot of good young managers here, and you want to give them the opportunity, but we're also a bit sort of dismissive at times of alternative sort of viewpoints as well.
Okay, while we wrap up your involvement in Scottish football, then the question we always get asked by supporters to ask people is, who was the best player or players that you worked with? So across your spell at Hearts and Hibs, obviously there was a huge amount, especially in the time at Hearts, a huge turnover of players. Who were the real stickouts in terms of players that you played with?
At Hearts.
What, at Hearts and Hibs? Obviously there was a young group at Hibs.
Aye. Well, there was at Hibs. There was a lot of good players as well. I mean, obviously there's Bruni was very much at Hibs when he signed for Celtic and obviously talking to him as well. How, I mean, he'd been speaking to Rangers as well a lot, but he went to Celtic because Strachan was looking to centre midfield, build a team around him, and I thought he's not ready to for Celtic to build a team around him in centre midfield yet, because he played a lot of games like out wide, because he was pure energy. You could see he could become that player, but to play centre midfield, he wasn't controlled enough at that point. He was still very much all over the shop, whereas now you see him, he's a lot more sort of controlled in how he plays the game, and he dictates it. So I thought it was too early for him to, not too early for him to go and play for Celtic, but too early for him to go and play in that position, but fully aware that he could and would go on to be a top player, and a great guy as well. He's another one that obviously the opposition players, not just fans, but players like can hate, and then once you actually get to know him and meet him, you're like, oh, he's actually a good guy. Yeah, he is. He's a really good guy. You could see Stephen Fletcher had ability as well. Boozy, really technically a good player as well. David Murphy, left back at Hibs, was a class act. Only thing he lacked was a bit of pace. And then at Hearts, I mean, Winky, Lee Wallace, just great player. I mean, and could and should have been the Scotland left back for about the past 5 years. If he hadn't gone to Rangers and hadn't stuck around at Rangers, I've no doubt he would have gone on to be that. And that's one of those where life away from football, he's happy where he is, where he's living. He likes Edinburgh. He likes living here. And I'm not going to blame him, because I've done the same thing. But I think if he'd gone down south, then it would have bettered his football career. Top player. At that point, at that time as well, Wee Driver got the best out of him. And I think if you actually realise and look at that season that we had with Chaba, it was a season where he played the most games, the least injuries, and it was because not only it was the way that we trained. We at that time it was played on a Saturday, we'd be in on a Sunday morning doing a recovery and a warm down, massage, ice baths, all this sort of stuff, and then you were only in for like an hour or two. Then it was Sunday recovery, Monday off, and then you train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it is actually proven that the second day, I mean, listen, if you guys go and do something, right, go to the gym, you play fives, whatever, it's not the day, it's the second day after that you feel the worst, right? Yet still, we persist in this country on coming in on a Monday, training Tuesday, and then off on a Wednesday.
That was the story recently with Daniel Sturridge with England set up, and Raheem Sterling and that Liverpool have got a technique where they say, especially fast players, kind of where there's loads of strain and loads of impact, that they need 2 days. Otherwise you're just never going to get the best of them, or they're going to get injured all the time.
That was one of the things for me as well. Like, see, when you started that with Chaba, it was like fucking Sunday morning, and after a couple of weeks you're like that. Fucking man, you're all in for a couple of hours. You're literally just like flushing your system, and then you felt like you had all day Sunday and Monday. It felt like you had 2 days off. And then was on a Monday, you do feel at your lowest point. I remember like fucking years going by, training with folk on a Monday, and you get fucking battered, and you literally feel shit. And then you get some manager looking, thinking that, oh, I fucking no fit enough, no this, and you're like, oh my god. Where it's actually proven that that's the day. Second day after a game where you're at your lowest, and so that benefit Driver, because it kept his body in shape. So at that time Driver, and then Bruno, top player, intelligent. Larry at that point hadn't sort of passed the point where he was like couldn't he move. He was probably still. I mean, realistically, he was probably 33 at that point. Because he probably said he was 28, but he was 33. I was not, I mean, 100%. 100%. So technically, good player. But Larry was one of those ones that, if he was surrounded by good folk, then he was all right. But he had the fucking screwball sort of mentality where he could go off on one. And if he was surrounded by idiots, he would fall into that camp. But at that time, as I said, the balance was right. And technically, a top player. There was best. It's a fucking tough one. It's a tough one. I enjoyed playing with him. I don't know whether I'd say, hold Bruno up as the best, but I enjoyed playing with him because it comes into that thing I was talking about where you're playing with intelligent players, and especially as a midfielder when you've got somebody ahead of you who's taking up the right positions, and the type of player that I was, that it comes back to this other thing of taking chance or risk. Because I could I could go back and play midfield right now and pass the ball sideways or back the way and keep the ball. Great, brilliant, doing the simple thing, keeping it, right, what the fuck's it doing in the grand scheme of things? Yet there is that balance. Listen, you do have to keep the ball. I mean, I would date myself, but when the time comes, you've got to try and penetrate. You've got to try and take the opposition out of the game. And Bruno will take up great positions, and and that's the thing. I want to take the ball all day long. I don't care if there's like 2 or 3 men on me. I know if I've got the support, give me the ball, I'll flick it round the corner. Great, suck it. I used to like it. Bring boys in and suck them into you, because I know if they're doing that, there's going to be space somewhere else, and Bruno would take up intelligent positions. And there was a good balance in that team as well, because Driver and Winky down the left hand side, Lee Wallace, top player, but maybe Bruno, really intelligent.
Interesting to hear. Right, final question, wrapping up your career in Scotland, kicking the bottles at Hamilton, did you have any idea that was caught on camera?
I can't remember that.
We'll have to ask it.
I've got any idea that it was caught on camera.
Did you have any idea when you slipped that you were still going to be being asked about it 5 years later? 6 years later?
No, when I slipped, there was absolutely no thought about it at all. not when it actually happened, but it became quite clear, like within about half an hour, when I was like coming out the changing room, and there was like about 1 million fucking messages and what are you doing, you fanny? And I was thinking, what are you talking about? Just seeing you slipping, thinking, where the fuck? I actually saw it.
Were you too raging to laugh about it at the time? Because it was a dodgy red card.
I got rescinded. I got rescinded. What, in terms of when I actually did it? I wasn't laughing.
Half an hour after, were you able to say
no, because I was still pissed off. Did we know? Did we get beat?
I think we finished 2-1.
We got beat. So I was still. I mean, I wasn't the sort of person who, that used to piss me off as well. Like, you'd be on the bus going back, some boys would just be sort of like, that wasn't me. Like, that sort of thing stuck in my craw. Like, folk that would just be like, see you later on, ball, great. That didn't sit easy with me. So the fact that we hadn't won that game and I'd got red carded, it was maybe like about 3 or 4 years later when I managed to laugh. No.
Well, at least we reached that point now. Scott, I was allowed to bring it up at least. Scott was a bit wary about me bringing that one up. Right, moving on to the end of your career, totally then. You moved to Turkey, and by all accounts, that was a pretty negative experience. And then, from a supporter's perspective, obviously keeping in touch with your career, from that point it seemed to peter out a wee bit. Why was that? What played a part in the end of your career?
What happened was that, so obviously when I went out to Turkey, I did, right at the end of pre-season, I needed to get an operation on my ankle, and that was then what caused the issues out there with them no pain when I was injured. So I came back, I got my operation, I did my rehab and everything like that, and then it got to the January and they were fucking about still, so I was like, no, I'm not having this. I cancelled the contract and took them to FIFA because they basically had broken the contract. And then there was a couple of things that happened. Straight away, that January, the last day of the transfer window, Ian Holloway offered me a contract at Blackpool when they were in the Premier League. So I went to speak to him on the 31st of January, and it was when Charlie Adam was maybe going to Liverpool, but he didn't go until the summer. So I remember speaking to Holloway, and it was great, it was brilliant football wise. And he went, listen, chairman's through there. He says, go through and talk to him, like sort of contract. He says, but I'll tell you right now, he's a cunt. And he'll try and fuck you over. And I was like, alright. So I went through and I was like, didn't quite realise how much of a cunt he was. And
was that Carol Oyston?
Aye.
Who is?
Oh, he's notorious.
Aye, and he's in the papers at the moment, certainly, about calling a fan a fucktard.
Oh, he's been abusing fans over text message.
Honestly,
aye.
Oh, he's a strange cookie. Aye, a strange guy. Anyway, so he offered me a deal that was all right, but you were talking about the English Premier League. It wasn't as much as what I was getting at Hearts. You know, so I was a bit like, well, I thought I'll come back. I mean, it gives me a chance to play anyway. But at the same time, I knew that there was a chance to go to Leeds. So I thought to myself, Leeds, bigger club, they were pushing for the playoffs at this point in the Championship. I hadn't played for 6 months because of my injury, and I thought to myself, I took a calculated gamble, and I thought, I'll go to Leeds, where it'll be a better deal, money-wise, it's a better club, better facilities, everything all round better, and there's a chance they could be getting promoted. And I thought to myself at the time as well, I thought the wheels are going to fall off the bandwagon at Blackpool and they'll go down.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll go to Leeds. So Leeds were like, listen, you've not played for the first half of the season, we just want to get you in, make sure your ankle's all right, give us, a few days training, see your fitness is, because we need probably 2 midfielders now. So I was like, right, fine, no problem. So I went in. It was Mervyn Day. You remember Alan Curbishley's old assistant, the goalkeeper. Mervyn was the chief scout at Leeds. So I went into Leeds and played a bounce game straight away against York. Ross McCormack was playing in it. And as I said to you earlier, when I went to Sunderland, when you know things aren't going right, this was the exact opposite. I felt great, ankle felt good, and it was a breeze. And I thought to myself, well, fine, no problem. And so played the game, and then they said, listen, Michael, go and stay down for a few more days. The manager hadn't been able to come to the game because he was doing something, I can't remember whatever. So I was like, right, fine, no problem. So stayed down a couple more days training, and then they said, listen, really happy with you. Manager's getting things organised for this on the Friday now. Manager's getting things organised for tomorrow. Can you come back down on Monday and we'll look at getting stuff sort of sorted. And this was the whole time I was speaking to like their assistants. So you know yourself when you get a good vibe and you think to yourself like, I know that I'm cruising through this anyway. They need 2 midfielders, right? Fine. In the meantime, I had 3 or 4 other Championship clubs that were asking me, and I had an agent at this point saying, "What's Michael doing? Like, look, we want to bring him in. We just want to look at him for a couple of days, and then same sort of chat." So, and I was saying, "Do you know what? Leeds, I'm happy here. It's a good club. It feels like it's going in the right direction." I just felt like everything was all right. So then I went back down on Monday, went through the whole fucking same shit, trained Monday, Tuesday, they were off on the Wednesday, and it was like, right, stay down for the end of the week. And I was like, right, I says, but like what's happening? When are we going to start like talking about, right, well, the manager's really happy with you, wants to do something, but just needs to speak to the chairman. And the chairman's Ken Bates. Chairman's like a tax XL, so he's out the country at the moment, and we need to wait. He's coming back in on Monday. We'll have a meeting with him. So I'm like, right, okay, I want this to fucking hurry up. But manager wants you. I'm thinking it's fine. So came Monday the next week. I stayed down the whole time. Came to Monday next week. Came back down, trained, never said anything to us. And I'm thinking, like, maybe he's meeting them after training. Came in on the Tuesday, didn't say anything again. And I was like, right, seriously, what the fuck's going on? This is like 2.5 weeks I've been doing here now. And I literally jumped on the train and I was heading back up here, and I says, if they fucking want to get in touch, they'll get in touch. So on the Wednesday morning, I got a phone call off the assistant manager, and he says, oh, Michael, listen, manager's had a meeting with the chairman, and the chairman's got a couple of other things that he's wanting to explore, and I says, you fucking having a laugh? I says, I've been doing for 2.5 weeks. I says, I've had 3 or 4 other championship clubs that have been wanting to bring me in. I says, the manager fucking wants to bring me in. He says, I know. He says, but obviously we weren't able to guarantee anything. I says, are you actually being fucking serious? Oh right, yeah. So I says, okay. I wasn't, you're not going to force them to do something when they've turned it. The whole point was falling foul of internal politics, and what I realised was that there was a guy who was like director of the academy or something like that, a guy called Gwyn Williams, who was Ken Bates' right hand man. He used to be at Chelsea, and I think I must have come across him when I was a kid. A total arsehole. The first day I went into Leeds, the manager, Mervyn, all the coaches and that, oh, Michael, you come speaking to a few of the lads that I knew, and Gwyn walks into the canteen, and Mervyn goes, Gwyn, come on just now. She said, Michael Stewart's son. She said, right. Where have you been? And I was like, just been to right, okay, and I just walked off, and I just thought, you fucking arrogant prick, And then I spoke to a few of the lads, and they were just like, he's a strange cookie, like he's deliberately like, sort of belittling of people to try and undermine them. Yeah. Again, just the wrong person to do that with, for me. And he says, but just play it smart, because like he's right in with the chairman. But then I didn't really have any dealings with him, and any time I had seen him, I was just played my sort of self, and he was alright. And then I found out that all the way along he didn't want me to come into the club, whereas Mervyn was like, no, he's coming in. Then the manager was like, oh, we like him, we want to keep him. So there was an internal battle between the management and the coaching staff wanting me, and Ken's man didn't want. I don't know why, I don't know what the issue was. So then eventually the chairman was like, no, we're not doing the deal. 2.5 weeks down the line, the other 3 or 4 clubs that were had been wanting me in had gone off and got other players. So it was coming to the end of February. I hadn't played all season, and I'm thinking, for fuck's sake. And then Charlton had been constantly, but it was League One. I was like, I'm not fucking going to play League One football. That's total bish. And then I thought to myself, well, you know what? I just need to go play for the last few months of the season. So I went down and again just trained for I think it was a week or whatever, and then they were falling over backwards, oh right, yeah, just come and sign. So I signed for them for the last couple of months of the season. It was great, it was brilliant, I enjoyed it down in London. I've got a lot of friends down there, but the football was horrendous. So but the difficulty is, again, it's that whole thing of the perception. You've gone and signed, it was only for a couple of months, but for Charlton in League One, so they were desperate to keep me on and stay, but they were still in that division next year. Yeah. The contract they offered wasn't great, so I was like, nah, I'm not interested. So then ridiculously I'd bumped into Vlad just round the back there. Literally I did, it's not a lie. I bumped into him and he was like, oh, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I've got a few things that are sort of potentially going to happen down south. Right, well, what are you looking for? And I went, well, he went, well, I'll get Sergei to phone you. So Sergei
memories of the bits of paper must have been flooding.
It's funny because that story did come out though. I still remember that spreading that Michael Stewart's coming back.
So Sergei phoned us, and I was like, right, well, listen, Sergei, this is what, if we want to get done. And at this stage I was just thinking to myself, again, I'd become scunnered by what had happened that previous season, and I was just like, you know what, just to get back, I'll come back for a year. And Jeffries, the whole reason Vlad was here was because Jeffries had just been sacked and Paolo was just coming in. Yeah. So Sergei phoned up and says, right, what are you looking for? And I said, well, bum. Right, deal was done in a couple of days. It was done. So I was literally waiting to go down to Tynecastle to sign a contract again, and then he was saying, oh, we just want to organise you to meet Paolo first. So I was like, alright, fine. And then day disappeared, 2 days disappeared, and then I knew fine well something was up, because there's folk within the club that were of the other camp that didn't like me, who when I went back when I went back the first time around, I had tried to like stop the deal as well. But obviously at that point, Vlad was just basically, he did what he wanted. Whereas now Vlad was a bit more like, you know, distant. And they'd been telling Paolo no. And Paolo was obviously then apprehensive. He never knew me, so he was telling like Sergei and that, oh, but I'm hearing all this, I'm hearing that. And Sergei was like, well, just meet him. So anyway, it didn't happen, and I was still looking at other stuff down south. There was a possibility of West Ham at one point, but then it fell through. There was who else was there? There was about 3 or 4 like options, chances of like clubs, and they kept like nut. And it was nut. Then I went out to Germany, and I did like a 2-week period with this team just near Munich, and went back out. It was brilliant, and it was deal, you know, better than I would have got back here at this time. I went back out to do fitness tip medical with them, and they basically they used like Müller Wohlfahrt, who's like I don't know if you ever watched Bayern Munich, right? Müller Wohlfahrt is like a famous like doctor, physio, the whole lot. He's Bayern Munich. He's an old boy with long dark hair that sits on the bench. Right. He's about 70 odd and he looks about 20, right? If you'll see him on the Bayern Munich bench. But he's famous for like, you know, like PRP injections and stuff like that. Like, you know, you take out the blood and you spin it around and you inject it back in, and calf's blood and all that sort of stuff. He was doing all that ages before. Anyway, it was his laboratory that we went out and did it all. And they took scans of my ankle, and they were like, I'm not sure about your ankle, so that fell through. And I was like, fucking hell. So this is now like coming towards the Christmas. Yeah. And I was just like, this is now like, you're talking about an 18-month period where I've hardly played. And I was just becoming a bit like, you know, scunnered by all this. And then it came to like the January time. Who was it now? It was Huddersfield, I think. Was a possibility. And then it fell through at the last minute, and I was like, what was the Huddersfield? Who was it? It was a team down south, I can't even remember who it was now. It was basically, it was done. And then it went quiet and it fell through, and this was it happened again, and I was like, it's fucking, something's up here. And I spoke to an agent that I knew down south, and I said, something's no right. I says, like, you know, right through this season, the last 18 months, I must have had about 6 or 7 like deals that were about to happen, sort of varying degrees of about to, and then just no. I
like
says,
you've been black.
Aye. So I says, something's no right. So anyway, he went away, came back to me about 2 or 3 weeks later. He went, he says, Michael, he says, somebody is absolutely like knifing you big time. I was like, who? He went, I don't know. He says, but I've now heard of 3 separate sources that somebody up in Scotland's basically telling folk down south that you're an alcoholic. I was like, what? I barely drink. I was like, you having a laugh? He went, no, I'm telling you. I was like, fucking hell. So it all started to make sense. It was like, you know, these things like, you know, progressing.
How many times does it happen before you start going, like, can it just be a coincidence?
And then it was like, this, you know, got to a stage and obviously somebody's hearing something, it's just like, so I was like, fuck me. So then I was like, right, okay. So I pretty much wrote off the rest of that season, because I was like, I wasn't willing to go and play at a level of football that I knew I wouldn't enjoy. The money wasn't good, and was only having to play there because of like something that was being said. Yeah. So this was, like, as I said, towards the end of like January now at this point, and I was like, no, I'm not willing to do this. So then I spoke to Sir Alex Fergie. I phoned Sir Alex and I said to him, look, you know, I didn't like calling favours, but I says, I'm getting absolutely done here by something or somebody. I says, I need some, you know, help. What will I do? He says, just go and speak to the press, like put it out there, you know, that like this is what's been going on, and any clubs or chairman that have pulled out a deal will realise, like, oh, why is he talking about that if it's no real? I says, but Gaffer, I didn't know any fucking media down south. And it says, and even the media I know up here, I says, like, I didn't play the media game, I don't have a great relationship with it. Alright, so you're talking about down here? And I says, aye. He says, alright, I thought you were talking about up in Scotland. I said, no. I says, I want, I've finished, like, that was the only reason I wanted to leave Hearts, because I wanted to go and do something different. Right. He says, don't worry, I'll have a word, I'll speak to the folk down here. So, basically that whole season was just written off, and then the start of the new season, I went down to Hull with Steve Bruce, had just gone in, and obviously the Man United connection. So, it actually wasn't through Sir Alex that I went, but I have absolutely no doubt that Steve had obviously spoken to the gaffer as well. So, bearing in mind now, this was like a 2-year period where I had barely played, and I was now 31 maybe. So I went down, and he was brand new, he was absolutely great. So, same sort of thing, I was in for like a week. After a few days, he was like, listen Michael, he says, I've got absolutely no doubt, he says, you can, come in and do a job for us right now. He says, my only concern is the fact that you've not played for such a long period of time. He says, stay down. He says, like, how are you fixed? Can you stay down? I says, aye. Again, when things are going well, I felt comfortable. I was staying with friends in Wetherby, which is, I don't know if you know, near like York and Harrogate and all that. It's a lovely area, and I was just travelling through. It was about 45 minutes through the whole training ground. It was next to York. I could jump on the train, get up here. It just worked. Everything worked. So I was like, and Steve Bruce was in. He was a Premier League manager. The Egyptian chairman was in not too long. They were spending a bit of money. Everything was just good, and I had a good feeling about it. The lads were good as well, and I just thought, yeah. So I says, no problem at all. And I felt good physically as well. I'd always, even though I wasn't been playing, so I wasn't match fit, I felt fit. So I said, right, listen, I'm fine, I'll stay down. I says, I'll get myself fully fit. And he says, great, do that. I'm no doubt we'll get something done. So I was down for I'd been down for about 2.5 weeks, and we just literally started to sort of talk about, let's look at something. And then I tweaked my groin in training. So I was a bit like, fuck's sake. I thought, actually, I'll be alright. Came back quickly, so I thought, not a problem. Because his concern was, the championship is like Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday, there's games all the time. Can you play all these games without picking up injuries? And then I was picked up this injury. I came back, I was back in about 8 days, so I thought, not too bad, but I lost a bit of momentum. So it was then another couple of weeks before you got to the stage where you felt comfortable to start talking again. And then, so at this point, I'd been down for about 6 weeks. And then I did my calf in training. Bang, calf went. I was like, fuck me. And then I started to think to myself, like, this is beginning to like fucking have the writing on the wall here. And with a calf as well, it's like notorious. Like, you come back and you do your groin, like, it's fine. You can you rest it, you walk about, you're resting it. Your calf, every time you walk, you're using your calf. So it's notorious for going again and again. So I went into training, rehab, fitness, and I came back quickly as well from a calf injury. But it was over 2 weeks, and then I was back. So then you've got to try and get back in and speed up to speed again. But it was still lingering because I pushed it to come back quickly, and it was playing on me, and it was spasming at times, and I wasn't confident on it. So in the end, I'd been doing for about 3 months, and Steve Bruce came up to me and he says, like, are you alright? Like, how's your calf? And I went, fine. He went, you're not. And I was like, no, it's fine. He went, you're not, I can tell. He says, you're carrying it. And I went, well, just a little bit. He says, listen, Michael, he said, I need to be upfront with you. He says, I've got a chance of bringing in Wilson Palacios. He says, I didn't want to be bringing him in. He says, and you're still sitting here and you're thinking, like, fucking hell, like, we've not done a deal yet. He says, my concerns. He says, I would love to bring you in. He says, but if I go and speak to my chairman and bring you in, he says, and then 2 weeks time you're injured again. He says, it's just difficult for me. And I totally accepted that, and I knew right from the off that was what was the chat was, that he wanted to do a deal. Can you get back up to speed? And I'd picked up these 2 injuries in training, and I just thought, fair dues. So I came back up the road. So you can start to understand that I'd had a couple of years where I was just a bit sort of like, I hadn't really played. I'd been scunnered by sort of some of the things that had happened, and it all revolved back around to like, I'm happy where I am. So this was now like about November time of that season. It was like August, September, October, we were into November, and I'd come back home and I was really just thinking like, what am I going to do? Where that was working because I was going in at a top level, money was good, the location was right, but I still had this problem where a lot of other places were like thinking I was a fucking alcoholic, So then it was like, if I didn't go there, when am I going to go? I didn't want to go and play at even the bottom end of the championship, where geographically it's somewhere I didn't want to be. My family, my friends are all here, where it's all relative. The money's good, but it's not good in a footballing context.
Not necessarily worth what you would have to sacrifice.
Aye, exactly. And then I just thought to myself, and footballing wise, it's like the bottom end, you can be playing pish football and not enjoying it. So I said, I sat down with like my missus and everything like that, and I was just thinking like, I need to do something, but she went, didn't make any snap decisions, it's been long enough already, let's wait, enjoy Christmas, New Year, and then sort of make a decision after that. So it came to like after the New Year, and I was like, you know what, like, there was sort of talk that I could come back and I could play, in Scotland, but I was like,
was there something on the cards with Kilmarnock? I remember roughly hearing that.
No.
It's just one of those things.
Normally it's me with a factual error.
Yeah,
no.
It's just one of those things I just wanted to ask, because I've
No,
read it in the paper.
no, I tell you what it was. It was that, I tell you who it was. It wasn't Huddersfield at the time, it was Sheffield United. And the reason that it was Sheffield United was because the week before I was going down there, this is when I realised that something was up. This was way before the whole thing. This was the season before. I went in and trained with Kilmarnock for a week to get fit before I was going to Sheffield United, because I knew Dean, and it was Dean's old man was the manager. Right. That was it. There was nothing. I wasn't going to Kilmarnock. I was just training there for a week. So when I came back up, I was just like, nah, I want to be here. And I was just like, right, listen, we're staying here. That was it. We're staying here. What am I going to do? So I was like, I can go and do my coaching badges and all like that, but it's not going to instantly, happen. Mm-hmm. And then just because I know, it's like a small world, knew all the sort of guys in the media that I got on with, and I just started, doing some stuff with the media. I did a couple of the sort of Sky games and then ESPN stuff, and then it was just like a snowballing effect. Then did some of the radio, and then that sort of end of that season, I'd written a few bits for the Scotland on Sunday as well, and then I did like a sort of expose bit with the Sun. And they just said to us, listen, would you look at maybe doing a column for us next year? So then I just started to see the potential of being able to still be involved in the game while still living where I want to be. And I'd already had like a couple of seasons where I effectively was hardly playing anyway, so it wasn't like, I'm going to stop playing. I'd almost effectively stopped already.
Transitional, it just really gradually worked it that way.
And then at this point, it was that mindset, like honestly, where just actually then taking control, because everything felt out with my control. So then being able to feel like I'm making the decision where I'm going to do something I want to do, because I was then being able to enjoy a lot of other things away from football that I hadn't ever been able to do, and it just started to fill your life again, and that was how it all came about. It wasn't a deliberate thing, it just sort of happened. It was a snowball.
What I'm going to propose is that we close it off there with a discussion on Michael Stewart, the player, and then that we, at some point in the future, if we can, arrange to start the conversation again on Michael Stewart, the pundit, and get your views on your future, where it's going to lead you, and get your opinions on both clubs and the Scottish game in general, and just have a chat with you about the football rather than yourself, because you've already sacrificed a couple of hours for you, Michael, and we really appreciate it, mate.
Not a problem.
Happy with that, everyone?
Not a problem.
Perfect. Well, Merry Christmas to all our listeners. We hope you enjoyed your Christmas present, which was a chat with Michael Stewart about his career with Hearts and Hibs. Thank you very much, Michael.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, mate.